Imagine pitching your tent under a moonlit canopy, then hearing your name drift through the trees with no one else around. Under a bruised sky, I shouldered my pack and slipped through the last golden rays of dusk into the pines. By the time I found a flat clearing, twilight had draped the forest in purple shadows. I set up camp beside a moss-draped stump, the scent of damp bark so thick it felt like breath. My fire burned low, a fragile beacon against the growing hush. With no signal on my phone, and even fewer fellow souls, I welcomed the solitude. Nothing could reach me out here. I stared into the embers until the fire's glow shrank to embers. That's when I heard it, soft, a sigh carried on the breath of wind, but unmistakable. Emma. My name whispered as if the forest itself had learned to speak. Heat flooded my cheeks. I froze, spat marshmallow ash into the night. My own voice betrayed me. "Who's there?" Silence folded back over the trees. The only reply was the creak of branches swaying overhead. I shook my head, forcing a laugh that tasted bitter on my tongue. Must be my imagination. I lay back on my pad and zipped my sleeping bag tight, dropping my flashlight to the ground beside me. If I pretended to sleep, maybe nothing would find me, but rest was a lie. Soft patters circled my tent, twigs snapping, dry leaves scurrying. My heart hammered. I gripped my flashlight and tore open the flap. The clearing was empty, bathed in moonlight. My fire had died, its ashes drifting like pale ghosts on a breeze. I scanned the darkness. No eyes glinted back. No shapes stepped from the shadow, yet I felt watched. I crawled out, boots crunching on duff, and poked at the cold coals until they flared. The light revealed odd footprints, too long and narrow to be mine, trailing from the tree line toward the water. Rising dread knotted in my chest. I traced the prints with my boot, but they ended where the land sloped into the undergrowth, swallowed by ferns. The wind shifted. Through the rustle of leaves came that voice again. Closer. Urged Emma. It pulsed like a heartbeat. I snapped off the light, thinking I could hide in darkness. But in the pitch black, the whispers turned into words I couldn't ignore. Come find me. Compelled by a mixture of terror and curiosity, I plunged into the woods. Every step was agony as unseen limbs scraped my arms and yanked at my clothes. My breathing came in ragged gulps. The trees stretched skyward like silent sentinels. Somewhere ahead, the voice guided me, weaving between the trunks. Then suddenly I burst into a small clearing ringed by rocks, scrawled with strange, looping symbols. Moonlight pooled in the center, illuminating a figure crouched on the ground. A woman in tattered clothing, hair matted, and eyes gleaming in the dark. Relief flooded me until I noticed her lips weren't moving. The voice came from everywhere at once. I froze. The woman rose, steps slow, deliberate. When she spoke, the forest shivered. "Why did you leave me?" Her words were knife-sharp, laced with accusation. My throat clenched. I'm camping here." My voice sounded hollow, betraying my fear. Her face contorted, sorrow spilling over into rage. "You promised." She lifted a hand, palm turned upward, revealing my own bracelet, one I'd lost hiking last summer. Blood pounded in my ears. How could this phantom know? The symbols at her feet glowed faintly, like embers of some ancient curse. Panic lit me ablaze. I turned and ran, branches clawing at every inch of flesh and fabric. Her voice chased me, a chorus of longing and despair. "Emma!" I tripped, skidding to a halt beside my fallen pack. The forest seemed to close in. I scrambled for my flashlight, but the batteries clicked dead in my shaking hand. Ahead, I saw the soft reflection of dawn along the edge of the trees. Summoning every last ounce of strength, I lunged forward. The voice crescendoed in my mind, a final, desperate wail. Then, silence. My lungs tore for air as I burst into the pale light, sprinting until the trees thinned and my car's headlights stabbed the gloom. I didn't stop to pack. I threw my gear in the back seat and drove without looking back. By the time I reached paved road, the sun was cresting the horizon. Bleary-eyed, I glanced over my shoulder. The forest stood calm, untouched. No trace of footprints, no sign of her or the symbols. That night, back in my own room, I heard a soft rustle by the window. I froze, heart pounding like a war drum. Then, unmistakable, came the whisper, "Don't go." If that gave you goosebumps, hit like, subscribe for more spine-tingling tales, and tell us in the comments, what's the creepiest thing you've heard in the woods?